Well, I ain't done one of these in a little while. This is my point of view. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. Just go ahead and skip to the next. I know that there's plenty of model train enthusiasts out there that want to listen to that, not politics. Of course, this one here is not politics. It's just about what's happening in the world. Now, up there in New Hampshire, they put in a giant wind farm offshore. Okay, to each their own. If that's what the community wanted, yeah, all for it. You know, if you want to waste your money on something that's going to be 10 times harder to repair, all for you. Well, now, I've been living on the East Coast for a long time, pretty much my entire life. I've only heard of a handful of beached whale stories. A handful on the East Coast. The biggest being the 70s, the one that washed up North Carolina that they blew up with dynamite and left parts of it everywhere. But, to each their own. If that's one way to get rid of it, that's one way to get rid of it. Because I can guarantee you, one big whale stinks. Okay. Well, they started to pay attention to it. Now, I got these numbers from Greenpeace, NOAA, the National Oceanic thing, and from Save the Whales. After I heard about it from Fox News. So I did my research. I did my long research before I even thought of this. Now, starting January 1st, 2023, half of that wind farm is built. Somebody decided to go out and count the beached whales on the East Coast. Now, over a 5-year period, we might have 1 to 2 beached whales, which makes sense. The average life cycle of a whale and everything else. It's been less than 4 months. 31 whales have come ashore. I don't know, that seems to be one big environmental problem. I don't know if the windmills turning out there create a residence that attracts the whales and then they just all of a sudden die of a heart attack because there's nothing there except for a bunch of pipes going up, and then they can't figure out how to get out of it because it screws up their equilibrium and they wind up dying. But that's the theory that Greenpeace has come up with. Save the Whales come up with another one that literally, because it scares away the fish to have the vibrations in the water, but the electricity being put into the water by stagnant static through the wind turbines is attracting the whales. So the whales are coming there, swimming around and starving to death. Noah, I don't have a clue. That was Noah's reaction. Why are the whales dying? Why are the whales beaching up? I don't know. Big wind farm. Nothing else has changed in the ocean. But we don't know why 31 whales in less than 4 months have washed up on shore. Now, whales don't survive once they've washed up on shore. Usually they're dead or dying before they even get to the shore. I'm wondering if having a wind farm offshore has something to do with that many whales washing up on shore. And didn't we stop whaling to start producing oil because we could light our lamps with that instead of whale oil? So we could save the whales and rescue the whales? I'd like to know what oil spill caused 31 whales to die. Period. Throughout history, can somebody point out just one oil spill that killed that many? Or the amount of whales killed just from drilling offshore? I'd like to know. Personally, I'd like to know, because there's no records being kept on that because it's so rare. Yes, oil spills do happen. That's unfortunately, the nature of the beast. We could have a pipe bust in the middle of the ocean. We could have things happen. You know, nature has its own fury, and sometimes it can really wreak havoc on what we've created. And then we just clean up the mess. But it looks like since we decided that we can tame nature and use nature to harness all of our energy needs, that we have decided that we're going to destroy much more nature to produce our energy when we was actually not killing off wildlife by running our vehicles. Because there's a cycle to running a vehicle. Running a vehicle produces carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Both are absorbed by plant life. Yes, both are absorbed by plant life, converted into oxygen and food for the plant. The plant itself turns into food for animals and wildlife. That's the reason why over the past 150 years, and yes, I have looked it up, the earth has actually become much greener. We've had more plants and more green wildlife, more green life on this planet in the past 150 years. And it's been growing rapidly with the introduction of vehicles. Now, they've also done a test with the California redwoods to find that over the past 150 years, the bands on the outside edges of those trees grow almost double what they did before 1800. Almost double the size after the start of the Industrial Revolution. That means the pollutants that we were putting in the air were actually causing a greening effect because of the fact that they were getting more carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide into the air. Fertilizer. Airborne fertilizer for plants. And we didn't have to add to the soil to get them to grow. We're taking that away and giving nature a very toxic mix of battery acid, lithium acid, which is left over from lithium batteries, alkali, which, yes, I've seen a spike in that just in my job. These chemicals are very detrimental to plant life. And if we keep going the way of electric vehicles and everything else, are we really going to survive when there are no longer any plants, or plant growth becomes so slowed that we can't feed ourselves because there's not enough fertilizer? Or can we go out, turn a key, crank up a daggone gasoline engine and go? Because we decided to reinvest in our oil wells and make a sustainable power source. Coal. Now, I'd even go as far as saying nuclear and hydrogen. We could build nuclear power stations to power our homes. And one of the side products of using that produces large quantities of hydrogen. Hydrogen is a highly flammable gas. When contained in a fuel cell, it is perfectly safe. You can pipe it into the manifold of a vehicle you already have, just like the old propane model cars and forklifts and stuff like that, and have a reliable source of fuel for your vehicles that is a byproduct of the electricity being produced for your home due to nuclear energy. Nuclear energy has come a long ways. Over the past 50 years, it's been shown to be one of the safest forms of producing electrical energy, one of the most environmentally friendly, meaning no death, no wildlife death or anything else from nuclear energy. Now, yes, Fukushima kind of knocked that number back down a little bit, but it's still 90% safer than any other way to produce electricity, including wind and solar. Well, my 10 minutes is up on my point of view. Y'all have a good one, and let's save those whales.